Weather World is made possible by grants from the Penn State Bookstore System, owned and operated by the Pennsylvania State University. The Penn State Bookstore System serves the academic community statewide with 20 Commonwealth campus locations. From Pennsylvania State Snowmobile Association, an organization of families, individuals, local snowmobile clubs, businesses, and manufacturers interested in promoting snowmobiling in Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvania State Snowmobile Association encourages the safe, courteous, lawful, and responsible use of snowmobiles. From Fullington Auto Bus Company, Clearfield, providing Central Pennsylvania with complete national bus tour service since 1915, and made possible through the financial support of viewers like you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Fred Gadomski along with Joe Sobel. Welcome to Weather World on this Friday night. And we're waiting here, and it isn't snowing yet, Joe. And where I come from, that they say a late snowstorm never comes.
Something to be said about that. Frustrating day for snow lovers, waiting for the high clouds to thicken, and they never did. But there is some snow in the forecast.
Okay, so snow lovers, don't despair yet. Joe will be able to provide at least some white stuff in the forecast, and he'll have that in just a moment. I will have the extended forecast, which will look down the road into the new year, indeed the new decade, toward the end of this millennium. And we will have that in the extended forecast. And finally tonight, we will talk to you about an atmospheric phenomenon known as mirages. They don't only occur in the desert. Now, standing by with the weather for the next couple of days, here's Joe.
Well, there is snow in the forecast, but there also, as far as snow lovers are concerned, is that four-letter word in the forecast. Actually, a couple of them, mild and rain. And we haven't had rain in Pennsylvania in a long, long time to any degree, but you can see it on this evening's 4 o'clock radar, the composite. Well, actually, this starts about 12 hours ago. This is rain gathering here in the Mississippi Valley and coming on eastward. And at about 4 o'clock this afternoon, you can see it's knocking on the door in western Pennsylvania. This stuff, which streaks out across along a frontal boundary near the New York State border, is snow. And it did snow on down to Williamsport, Pike County, in the northeastern corner of the Commonwealth early this morning, or at least at some point during the day today, and the snow band is kind of shifted back northward. This is the precipitation, and you can see back here in Indiana some thicker greens and some yellows, and this is a little heavier stuff. This is coming on eastward, and across most of Pennsylvania, except the southwest, it is still cold enough for snow and some ice tonight. So we're going to have some front-end loaded frozen stuff. But there is milder air on the way. Milder air will not be denied this weekend, at least in middle and high levels of the atmosphere. Well, middle levels of the atmosphere. And that does mean some rainy and messy, sloppy kind of weather. Here's the satellite picture, and you can see, remember yesterday we talked about moisture from the Gulf of Mexico was going to gather and get drawn northward by a disturbance coming eastward out of the middle part of the country, and that indeed is happening. Again, here's a pretty good batch of precipitation which will come over Pennsylvania tonight. And you can see there's a lull here in Missouri and Arkansas, not much going on, still cloud cover here, but the precipitating producing clouds back off. Then another disturbance out in the southern states, and that will come eastward. And it looks like by that time, when this batch of energy rides up northeastward over Pennsylvania, it will be warm and it will rain and drizzle and foggy and be kind of messy tomorrow night and on into a good part of the day on Sunday. All right, here's what it looks like on our conventional weather map, and you can see that's Sunday's. There we go. Now we're back to this evening. I guess you know what Sunday's weather map's going to look like. At any rate, cold high-pressure system over Ontario and Quebec, but it's moving on eastward. And what that means is this wind flow, which is now out of the northeast and east, is eventually going to turn around into the southeast and south. And that will bring the milder air, not this 50s and 60s stuff, but 35 to 45 at any rate. That kind of air over Pennsylvania tomorrow night and then on into the day Sunday. There is colder air returning southward through the central part of the United States. Now we'll crank it up ahead to Sunday, and you'll be able to see how things move. The first thing will be noticeably milder air coming on up. Now in the northeastern counties, maybe even yet early Sunday morning, there can still be some frozen precipitation. And there may be a fairly extended time period late tonight on into the day tomorrow in which a good part of central and northern Pennsylvania picks up freezing drizzle, freezing rain. There's so much salt on the main highways that maybe that's not a real problem. But we're going to have a tough time from the central mountains to the Lehigh Valley and northward getting the temperature above freezing. But get above freezing. It will, we do believe. Well, we've got to, you know, Fred, those 4 p.m. temperatures just don't look right. I think those are yesterday's. We're a lot higher than that today, and we'll move right along then to tonight's forecast. We'll move right along to tonight's forecast, and there you go. Getting messy tonight. Rain has already kind of started to get underway in the southwestern counties. Will spread on into the central part of the state fairly early this evening. Maybe reach Scranton and the Poconos around midnight or thereabouts. Up toward Erie County, just a short period of snow and then rain. Again, getting messy with the snow changing over to ice later on. For the daylight hours tomorrow, the transition from snow to ice to drizzle, it may stew around and not do very much, and fog is likely to become a problem, getting slushy and messy underfoot. The last places where the precipitation will change to rain or unfrozen stuff will be up in the northeasternmost counties. Going ahead to Sunday, colder air will begin returning to the west, especially late in the day. Looks like rain can change back over to snow, so New Year's Eve travelers in the northwest may have to deal with some snow. Elsewhere, you'll have to deal with rain, drizzle, and fog. And finally, our estimate of snow accumulations here for tonight. Very little, if any, out near the Ohio border. A small accumulation to a couple of inches in the central mountains. Looks like the most will be up in the northeast, where there could be 5, even 6 inches in a few lucky spots. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
You're watching Weather World. You're about to enter a dimension that lies between the pit of optical illusion and the summit of atmospheric science. The signpost dead ahead, the Mirage Zone. Stay tuned.
Well, folks have been remarking about just how pleasant all of this temperature near 30 feels, and indeed some places in the Commonwealth have been as high as 35 or so. And of course, 35 is just about where it should be in the middle part of the Commonwealth at this time of year. We definitely have changed into a new pattern from the bitter cold of the recent past. However, the next pattern isn't going to be one that's going to lead to massive amounts of warming, but you'll notice temperatures more like they should be, which in comparison will seem mild. This is one of those water vapor loops. Remember, the dark areas are dry, the white areas are the moist areas, and you can see a swirly that comes down the west coast. That's a bundle of energy in the southern branch, and if that could come eastward, it might give us a problem with something in the way of a shower or something like that. It seems to have stopped on me. I don't know what's going on here. Why don't we go on to the jet stream map, if at all possible? And there is the jet stream on Wednesday, and there's the reflection of that little upper level swirl that we showed you, and it'll be moving through the southwest, but we don't think it'll ever get involved with the northern branch of the jet stream, which will be quite strong next week. And very much like back in the latter part of November and the early part of December, there was no way for Gulf moisture to get involved with storm systems that were diving southeastward out of Canada. And so we think that next week in general, after this rather wet time that we're having here, we'll turn back to a more kind of a dry pattern, and also one which will not be all that cold after all. So let's summarize it in a map for the United States for the period this coming Monday through Thursday. It's January 1st through the 4th, 1990. In general, the storm track will be to our north. If you've been watching weather for any length of time, you know it's hard to get really cold with storm tracks to our north. As they drag through a cold front, as this one will on latter part of Wednesday, it will turn colder again. The coldest day of early next week will be Monday, windy and cold, 15 to 25, some flurries in the west. Tuesday, clouds and milder, could get to 40 in places southwest. Wednesday will turn colder late, with maybe a few showers and maybe snow showers extreme north. Clouds and seasonable on Thursday. All in all, a fairly uneventful several days next week. We will be back in a moment with more.
Do not attempt to adjust your television set. What you are seeing is a mirage over the Arctic, the same kind of mirage that in 1818 brought a halt to an expedition led by John Ross, a captain in the British Navy. He had been commissioned to sail through Canada's Lancaster Sound in search of the Northwest Passage to the Pacific. Halted by an apparent mountain of ice, Ross returned to Britain only to have his story and his reputation ridiculed a year later after his second-in-command, a fellow by the name of Perry, sailed through the Sound without a hitch. This type of mirage forms when cold, dense air near the ground is overlain by warmer, lighter air. A light ray from a clump of snow no more than several inches tall is bent as it travels through the air of changing densities, always taking the path of least resistance and bending away from the cold, dense air near the ground. Because our brains interpret incoming light rays as having traveled in straight lines, we see the clump of snow at a point higher than its actual position. Another ray of light from the clump of snow may take a different path so that we see an image at a different point above the ground. With many more bending light rays to fill in the gaps, a phantom wall of ice appears. It's called a superior mirage. Now, speaking of ships, here's Weatherworld's version of the Love Boat. But wait, does this cruise not have a happy ending? Is the ship breaking up before our eyes? Au contraire, mes amis. We're seeing another mirage. This time, it's an inferior mirage that sometimes occurs when warm air is overlain by cooler, denser air. Again, light rays are bent away from the denser air, and sometimes they can bend so much that they never reach the observer's eye. Thus, without any light rays for our brains to interpret, it seems that parts of the image actually disappear. Now, you know it's often said that seeing is believing, but in the case of an inferior mirage, don't believe it.
Well, I think you can believe your eyes if you start to see something liquid falling out of the sky this weekend. It's going to get milder. There is going to be rain virtually everywhere. But first, there's some snow coming, and it's going to take a while for the milder air to get in where the cold air is well entrenched in the central and northeastern counties. For tonight, looks like there will be some snow covering to a couple of inches in the central mountains and a couple to 3, 4, 5 inches or north and northeast. Then tomorrow is the transition day when it gets icy and slushy. Winding up is rain, drizzle, and fog. Tomorrow night and on into Sunday also looks like a real messy time period with maybe a fair amount of rain, which could cause some local flooding on streets and highways and that kind of thing. So a messy but milder weekend coming on up. Fred?
Thanks very much, Joe. That's all the time we have for this night on Weather World. In fact, this year on Weather World. In fact, this decade on Weather World. We hope you'll all have a happy and safe New Year's weekend, and we'll see you here on New Year's Day. That's all the time we have for tonight. So long.
Weather World is made possible by grants from the Penn State Bookstore System, owned and operated by the Pennsylvania State University. The Penn State Bookstore System serves the academic community statewide with 20 Commonwealth campus locations. From Pennsylvania State Snowmobile Association, an organization of families, individuals, local snowmobile clubs, businesses, and manufacturers interested in promoting snowmobiling in Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvania State Snowmobile Association encourages the safe, courteous, lawful, and responsible use of snowmobiles. From Fullington Auto Bus Company, Clearfield, providing central Pennsylvania with complete national bus tour service since 1915, and made possible through the financial support of viewers like you.
Join us for Newport Jazz 89, an hour of music featuring Diane Reeves, Herbie Mann, Wynton Marsalis, the Newport All-Stars, George Shearing, Mel Torme, and Spyro Gyra.
Monday at 10:30.
I'm Christy Fletcher. Get the most accurate weather information at a time that fits your life. I'll bring you the AccuWeather forecast beginning Wednesday on the news at 10, the right time.
This is Public Television Channel 33, WITF-TV, Harrisburg. Tonight's presentation of the McNeil-Lehrer News Hour on WITF has been underwritten by Harsco Corporation.
Good evening. Leading the news this